I've sung the praises of Made In Cookware for a while now. I own many pieces myself. Now Made In has changed nonstick cookware for good with their ceramic-clad pans. They're premium stainless pans with next-gen ceramic coating free of harmful materials. Beautiful, even cooking, and easy to clean. It's even oven safe up to 550 degrees. How do I know how great they are? I added one to my kitchen. Don't need a nonstick pan? Made In has pots, cutlery, bakeware, glassware, and everything you need. Take your home cooking to the next level by upgrading your cookware by going to unitedwedrink.com/madein, MADEIN. Find out why pros trust Made In. Go to unitedwedrink.com/madein and upgrade your kitchen and cooking today. The opinions and statements in this podcast do not represent those of the host's employers, co-workers, family, or imaginary friends. Now enjoy the show.
Happy hour? More like amateur hour. Welcome to United We Drink.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another new episode of the United We Drink podcast right here on unitedwedrink.com, as well as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever fine podcasts are found. My name is Mike Urevich. I'm feeling spooky. How about you guys?
I'm feeling kooky.
Ooh.
Maybe even too kooky.
Oh,
Tim, you're very quiet. Are you a ghost?
I had no Addams Family follow up on there, so I got nothing. I'm feeling eerie. I don't know.
Erie, Indiana.
I am.
Ooh, good show.
I'm feeling Minnesota.
All right, so guys, how are you though? Are you and Kevin? We talked. I guess we did talk quite a bit before the show. So having to revisit that, I guess.
How am I?
nauseam.
So I am doing okay. I am currently taking one class. I'm very close. I'm taking my capstone for my psychology degree, but I'm taking one class this semester, which is really helping to relieve some of my stressors. And I will be, when this episode has been released, I will have already been back to Michigan and then back home to see my dad. So I'm flying up for a couple nights here very soon. And that will be really nice. It'll be good to see my dad. It will be good to take a little time away from South Florida. So I'm hoping that will help to recharge my batteries.
Nice. What about you, Tim?
I am, I don't know, present and accounted for. I never know how to answer that. Like, life is just plugging along, and I am here. Yeah, it's not like there's anything new and or exciting. But I'm sure get a little bit in me, and I'll come up with something.
Like all the time at the brewery, like people who work there and regulars, they'll be like, "Hey, Mike, how's it going?" And my go-to response is just, "I'm alive."
Yeah,
Like in that same tone, and they're like, "That's good." I'm like, I guess. Like, and it's
That's
just
called a human interaction.
yeah.
Hello, how are you doing? I am also existing. Oh, you as well, sir. Good
Yeah.
day to you.
I mean,
I
life.
said good day.
Life is very much about going through the motions. I don't live an exciting existence, so it's not like there's anything in my life that has me super amped. But that's not necessarily a bad thing, right? I mean, I could have things that are beating me down. I don't think you guys want to hear that either. So
You could be a Minnesota Twins fan.
uh,
Wait.
yeah. Yeah, I don't. We still don't have a manager, and we're signing a guy with a 138 career batting average. I do not understand
You
what
didn't
is
sign
going
him.
on.
You claimed him off waivers.
Fine, we claimed him off a waiver. Yeah, okay. Distinction without a difference when it comes to you actively
He
chose to
already has
have.
a contract.
Yeah, and we went, yep, we want that.
He's versatile. He played a lot of positions. So
Yeah, none of them will.
so we're all parents here, and I find myself on a regular basis with my son coming home from school and wanting to ask him about his day. And I ask him, "Hey, how was your day at school, son?" And he says, "It's okay," or "Good," with quick answers. And I get frustrated because I want to hear more about his day, because I'd be fascinated if he told me things he talked about at lunch with his friends, or I'd be fascinated with anything because I just want to hear what he has to say. I want to engage with him. I want him to know that I'm interested. And then we'll be sitting at dinner, and my wife, my lovely wife, will ask me, "Kevin, how was your day?" And I'll go, "It was fine." And I go, "Oh, wait a minute, I'm the problem. Oh,
Yeah,
I'm the problem. I don't share because I feel like my day is boring and repetitive, and I don't want to engage with that conversation." So my son hears that and does the same thing. S- Rule or not rule, example 105 of why I am a terrible father.
no, you're not a terrible father. I noticed the exact same thing the other day because I asked Lily how her day was, and she's like, "Oh, it was fun. What'd you do? We had art class. What'd you do? Well, made stuff." And she's like, "How was your day?" I'm like, "My day's the same
Made
every
stuff.
day. I've got nothing." Yeah, yeah. Like there's really nothing to say. So
Pass.
it is a good day when my day is uneventful. I think is the thing that I've learned.
And see, like part of that is because I do a very similar thing. Part of it is sometimes just not wanting to talk about the monotony of the day, and sometimes it's I don't want to talk negatively about the things that happened today in front of them and make them think like, oh, life sucks. All daddy talks about is how shitty his job is or something like that. But so it's this catch 22 type of thing. Um, but yeah, I know exactly what what you mean. Worse so sometimes is I pick them up from daycare every day, and we go through that motion when I pick them up, and it's like, how was your day? Okay. What did you do? I don't know. Like, okay. And then at dinner, might share. Like, my
Yeah.
wife will ask, like, oh, so what did you guys do today? Oh, so we did this and this. And I'm like, when I asked you that, you guys said, I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. I recently had parent teacher conferences, and I didn't get anything super new out of the parent teacher conferences. But like in years past, like I've learned things at parent teacher conferences. I was like, well, why didn't you? Because like I don't just ask her how her day is. I ask her like, tell me your favorite part of the day, and it's usually lunch or recess. Tell me something that made you smile today. Tell me, is there anything that made you sad, mad, scared, or nervous? And is there anything you think dad needs to know? And I don't get a whole lot, right? I mean, sometimes I get some of those things, but sometimes I get basically nothing. And then you go to a parent teacher conference and you're like, oh, yeah, Lily did this and she was working on this. And I was like, why didn't you tell me this? She's like, I forgot. I forgot. She's fifth grade and she's already turning into a teenager to a point of I forgot. So yeah, I guess again, sometimes the no news is good news, even if I have to hear about them getting to pet an alligator or something later, like 2 weeks after the fact.
Oh yeah, I did do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
What are we drinking tonight, gentlemen? Kevin, you finished your first beer already?
It's close. So I have Left Hand's Fade to Black Foreign Stout. This is a really, really delicious beer that I did not know that they still made. I believe that this originally started off as a series of black ales and beers. And this was the first one they did, which was the foreign stout. And I think that they basically just kind of said, well, screw it. We now do this like as a seasonal or whatnot. It's one of those beers where I drink and go, why don't I drink more foreign stouts where the flavor profile is like roasty, not sweet. It's just well balanced, the right amount of bitter. It's just a really, really good beer. And spoiler alert, it's on Old Favorite Friday.
I looked it up. I did remember this being a series, and yeah, you're right. The foreign export stout was the first one they did. They did a smoked Baltic porter, the second one. I remember liking that,
I remember that liking that a lot.
and they did a chili pepper porter after that. Then a Rocky Mountain Black Ale, which I don't necessarily remember, and then a Black Rye Ale, and those are the only ones that it says here. But that's pretty cool. That yeah, I've always remembered loving that artwork on those bottles too.
It's also a great reminder. Like Left Hand makes really good beer, and so many of the beers that made me fall in love with that brewery are no longer, they don't make them anymore, and I think that's a shame. But you bring this beer back or get it back in the rotation or what have you, and at the very least, I saw a 6-pack and grabbed it immediately and got very happy.
Yeah. Uh, you know what? I'm gonna hop in here because I'm drinking a dark beer as well. I have Allagash's Haunted House. They call it a hoppy dark ale. It like it's not black IPA territory hoppy in my opinion, but it's such a nice beer. Like it's got some citrusy, earthy bitterness to it, and just an easy drinking body to it as well. I saw it at Publix of all places and was like, okay, you twisted my arm. And oh, what's this? Sierra Pale Ale that's less than a month old. I'll take that too. So I have that backing it up is some Sierra Pale.
When you were at Publix, was there someone that was open carrying a handgun that forced you to buy that beer?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
want to make sure.
Many people. They're just standing on every aisle, directly pointing at everyone who walks by, instructing them to buy the BOGOs, even though they increase the price on the per item every time they do a BOGO to make up some of it. Just buy it.
Hello,
There is truth
Sprouts.
to that.
My new local grocery store. Tim,
I like Sprouts a lot.
We just got busy into Sprouts, so look for us there as well.
I think I saw it there last time
Yeah.
I was in there.
Yeah. It's been within the past few months, but yeah, which I think is awesome.
Tim, what are you drinking?
You guys are gonna love this.
I already do.
So I decided to stop off and at the liquor store on the way home. Lately I haven't really been keeping any beer, liquor, or anything in the house, and so I decided uh, for recording I would stop off, and so I just went over to the singles cooler, and I pulled an Audible, and I went with Four Loko. I am not even kidding. So I've never actually
What
had
flavor
Four
is that?
Loko.
Green?
Sour apple.
Oh, so it's acetaldehyde.
So I had decided, you know what? Because I've never, for all the Four Loko jokes I've made over the years, I've never actually had a Four Loko. And I'm like, you know what? I like lately I've been kind of on this kick of like, you know what? I will try hard Mountain Dew. You know what? I will try this other kind of alcohol pop type of thing. And so I went, all right, you know what? Let's go with this. You know, it's got, you know, certified color FD&C yellow number 5 and artificial sweetener. The other nice thing about this, which I find hysterical, is the servings per container is 4 3/4. Which
Is that a 22-ounce can or a 24-ounce can? Because it looks bigger than a 19.
Does it even say on here?
I mean, it legally
I,
would have to.
I like the
Yeah, I
idea
know.
that
I'm
you
trying
would.
to find that.
I like the idea you would pull your Four Loco can out and parse it into a
It's
smaller glass, put it back in the fridge, and go. I'll drink the rest of this flat later
it
on.
is 23.5 fluid ounces. And so serving size is 5 fluid ounces, and servings per container is 4 3/4, which cracks me up since you get to determine the serving size. It's not like there's some sort of mandate because they keep it at just under 14 at 13.9. So
Anytime
I will be having 4 3/4 5 ounce servings of 13.9% for Loco throughout the podcast. And it's not great. It's not bad. But it is something different. So I know, dear listener, that I told you at the top of this podcast that I live a pretty boring existence. And now here I am telling you that I'm pulling a flyer on some Four Loko. So I'm already contradicting myself.
Proof that you're lying.
Yeah. So only 0.7 fluid ounces of alcohol per serving. So, yeah. I get such a kick out of,
I love
four
when
and
they put
three
a serving
quarters.
size thing on a package that you can't reseal. Like
Yeah.
it's a can. Okay, you pop that open. This has 5 servings in it. Like, no, that's one. Come on. Like
Uh,
I, I I wish I could say the FDA should do something about that, but we know that they're not going to do shit about anything
Yeah.
like that. But
23.5 fluid ounces is what I will be having of this. So, nice round
I am
number.
glad you're enjoying that. I will also say that just by pure coincidence, this morning when I went to the gas station
he
after
also bought a Four Loco.
no, but somebody else did. So it was 7 o'clock in the morning, or I'm sorry, it was 7:30, and I had just dropped, or my son had just, I just put him on the bus. So I always hit the local gas station to grab something on the way to work. And as I was walking, this gentleman was very nice. He held the door open for me for an unnaturally long amount of time. Very Midwestern thing to do here in South Florida. Like I was a city block away from the door, but he stood and held the door for me for a long time. So I had to kind of run walk up. So it
Yep.
wasn't super uncomfortable, but very, very nice. And as we met at the back of the gas station store, he was grabbing a Four Loco while I was grabbing a Coke Zero. And I said, "Amen, brother. You enjoy that at 7:30 this morning. Thank you for holding the door. Maybe you're kind because you drink that."
And so I was just thinking about this today. Not that I did it today, but I've mentioned that they only do 3-2 products in gas stations and grocery stores in Minnesota. There are maybe just a handful of grocery stores that got grandfathered in, that were able to do it. And I went to one after, like, I'd worked a shift that started at like 4 in the morning, and I stopped on my way home, and it's 1:30 in the afternoon. I'd worked a very long shift, and I picked up, like bread and cheese and beer. And the person checking me out was like, "Oh, I guess it's 5 o'clock somewhere," because it was 1:30 on a Tuesday or whatever. And I was like, "I've been working since 4 in the morning. Lay off me." Like, my happy hour just starts earlier than yours because I've been awake for a lot longer than you. So settle down.
Wait, so he's saying that 1:30 in the afternoon?
Yeah, I know. I
Okay,
didn't even.
like
I suppose
people
because it's
have
a
beers
Tuesday.
with lunch. Like,
Yeah, I know. I know. I thought it was. I mean, yeah, because I remember, like, when I was at Badger Hill, we'd have a brewers meeting at 11:30 at the bar down the street, and have beers at 11:30, and there would be, I don't know, 15 people in the place drinking that had probably been drinking for since before we got in there, since 10:30 in the morning. But that was also in an industrial park, and so a lot of those bars catered to overnight shift workers.
I'm amazed by the lack of those types of establishments down here. I don't know if like different cities are going to have their own laws and whatnot, but man, when we lived in Philly, there was a number of early bars that catered to the overnight working crowds that opened at 6 or 7 in the morning, and they did good business. Like there's one right down the street from us. I never went into it, but I always saw people out there in the morning, like because they would be outside smoking a cigarette and then
Yeah.
have a beer in their hands. But yeah, they opened at six in the morning. They closed at 2 in the morning, and then we're back open at 6 again.
Yeah, but like if you can have your happy hour go from 4:30 to 6:30 for the white collar people, there's a blue collar person, there's a press operator whose hands are covered in ink, who's been working all night. That the only thing he wants to do when he gets off at 6, 7, 8 in the morning is just go grab a beer, then go home and go to bed.
Yeah,
Right? Like there's no reason that you can't. And so it does seem weird to me when cities make ordinances that you can't open a bar, you can't start serving until a certain time. I'm like, but you're such a blue collar city or whatever, or I can
it's all
from
about
where I,
fucking Christianity. Even though
yeah.
the people who want those beers are probably Christian themselves because they're
Yeah.
they're blue collar working folk, and it's just like it's always just fucking
Well,
cutting
I
off
think
their
I think
own
it's I think it's usually
tails.
target. I think it's more than anything. It's probably trying to target like the unhoused population, saying, "Oh, they're all unhoused drunks, and oh, they're only going to spend their money on booze, and so we have to, we don't want drunks walking around at 8 in the morning." But the vast majority of people that are going to go to that aren't going to be the people that are causing problems.
And
Yeah.
guys, this is how we transition into our topic today: the bullshit that is Christianity and the homeless problem. Both things we're going to cover here. It's going to be a very controversial episode. Let's go.
All right. So let's start with Dawkins. No.
One thing I did want to call out, one of the things I was drinking a couple weeks ago, Amberbach, right?
Yeah.
So this past weekend, I went to a little towny bar. So the funny thing about like St. Paul is all you have to do is get across the river into a suburb, and suddenly you feel like you are in a small town. The towny bar I was at, from their front patio, you could literally see Summit Brewing across the river in St. Paul. But it's very, very much a towny bar, and I stopped in and they had Amberbach on tap, and I was like, "Holy shit, they have Amberbach!" I ordered an Amberbach. The woman next to me heard me order, turned around, and went, "I couldn't believe they had Amberbach. I haven't seen it forever. I had to order an Amberbach." So she was probably around my age, maybe a little bit older, and so we sat and we reminisced about how Amberbach used to be on tap everywhere. So maybe the next episode is how everything old is new again.
Now you've just made me want to go and find like if there is like a brand catalog for Michelob out there, like that of things that they make besides Ultra, and just typing in Michelob it doesn't bring up anything official besides uh, MichelobUltra.com. it's
Well, she and I had a good time chatting over Amberbox, talking about Alaskan cruises and other things old people talk about while drinking beers that were popular 25 years ago. So, cheers to that, I guess. As you know, obviously, Four Loco no longer is the old recipe, but it would be kind of fun. I've
Which
got,
one was
I've got,
better?
I've got coffee in the fridge. You know, I do. I could go ahead and do a coffee chaser, do an espresso shot chaser, and get the same effects of Four Loco with caffeine. So, uh, yeah,
oh,
Mike is
I
now
found I
deep
found
in
it.
research.
Yeah, Ultra Amberbach, Golden Draft Light, Michelob Light, and then the whole seltzer and oh, Ultra Zero, that too.
Yeah, Mick
But
Mick, Gold, Mick Golden was a really big thing here for in the early 2000s.
but
Like
that's still cool to see that Amberbach is still like a year-round beer. I really need to go try to find find
it
that
was
out
it
there.
was so fun to find it on tap, and I was just laughing my ass off because I was like, man, I was just talking about this a couple weeks ago about how I hadn't seen it in forever. Here it is sitting. Now this is definitely. I mean, it was definitely a place that if I would have walked in 10 years ago, there probably would have been a record scratch. Uh, type of thing, and like because definitely people didn't know who I was, but the older I get, the more like a townie I look like. Um, but it is definitely they all know each other's name, and literally like a woman just comes in and makes tacos on the weekends and just hands out little paper menus that you take off, and they've got like a sign. They have uh this sign behind the bar that's just letters. YCH. Hold on. What is
Yakima
this?
Chief Hop Union. Okay.
No, YCHJCYAQFTJB.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I don't know what that means.
I only because I've run into it before, or I pointed to the sign and I said to the bartender, but your jukebox doesn't take quarters because it means your curiosity has just cost you a quarter for the jukebox. Like that's how towny of a bar this is. Yeah. To just have a sign up with those letters, just so when people ask, then they charge you a quarter for the jukebox, which I think is hysterical.
I did find that at least the Total Wine by me carries Amberbach only in 12 packs. So I guess I'm gonna have to get a 12 pack of Amberbach sometime
I
soon.
want to know if they've got a
Let's
beer
split
finder
one.
and see where it's at on draft.
Yeah, that I'll have to look into that one at some point too. But I mean, we're getting into celebration season, so I'm gonna have that in my fridge soon. This and Amberbach, like, whew, my fridge is gonna get packed. It's the
It's a
holidays.
lot of responsibility. It's a lot of responsibility, Mike.
Yeah.
Well, no,
Um,
just go out to like a Rubik Tuesday or a Fuddruckers or one of those 30-year long since chains that died out 20 years ago, and I'm sure it's still, you know, like the last blockbuster, like the last Fuddruckers has Amberbach
Oh no, the last
and
Ruby
Shock
Tuesdays
Top.
has a half barrel of Amberbach from 2019. It's
Oh,
still
yeah,
drinking. Ah,
with a keg of Shock Top and and
Pete's
Coors
Wicked
Cutter.
Ale.
Yeah, Coors Cutter if you're trying to go alcohol free. So
Is Ice House still around?
Red
Red
Dog.
Dog.
Yeah.
Red Dog.
Did you just say Red Dog?
Yeah, yeah.
You guys said that at the same time.
Like, let's get that.
So this is going to be the episode. We're just going to talk about old brands, old cheap brands that we have drank at some point, maybe when we were of legal age, maybe
You
not.
had just pushed up your sleeve and it looked like you were sleeveless for a second, and I was like,
Oh,
you do. Yeah, I was gonna say you look like everyone that would have drank Red Dog.
Let me put them down then.
Just
I don't want to
No
be
sl-
associated with that crowd.
no sleeves and tats.
All right, so the actual thing that we wanted to talk about today was
40 minutes
kind
in.
it kind is it 40? No, we're
No.
27.
That's ridiculous.
Way
That's
better.
ridiculous, Tim. It's
I
not
was
40.
I was way off.
let's see if we can go another 20 before we talk about
The topic of the day.
marketing essentially is what we wanted to talk about, but more so the structures within breweries, small and large, really. I mean, none of us can really, I guess, talk about large because none of us have ever really worked for a large one, but we can pretend that we know how things work there.
I always do.
I mean, I've been sold to and marketed to by large breweries, so there is that.
That is true. I think I know people who know people at large breweries, and I know people at large breweries too. But so when a lot of these breweries start, these small guys, they're started by people who are maybe homebrewers, or they are people who are really into beer and hire someone to be a brewer. And the creative aspect, the marketing aspect, is something that is left up to someone whose primary job maybe has never been to be a creative person, has never designed something, never named something, never taken a photo of something. And all of a sudden they're being thrown into this, okay, you got to name this beer. Oh, okay. And you know what? We're going to put this in a package. We got to develop a label as well. And they're not going to say develop because people like that don't know what that means. They'll be like, film? Um, so a lot of times people are brewing beer, coming up with names, maybe doing a design, maybe getting their brother-in-law to do a design for them, or doing whatever they can. Is is this a way that really works? Is it frustrating? We talked a little bit about this before we got on the show. And so I kind of want to start with Kevin because like I feel like he's going through some of this stuff right now, and I'd like to give him a way to voice some of his frustrations. And I just want to hear where he's coming from on it.
The Festivus poll is yours. Air your grievances.
Well, no, I think one of the most difficult things, Mike, is what you talked about is that for years I've worked in this industry, multiple different breweries, and coming up with names of beers has always been. I've always said it's the bane of my existence, because it'll be the middle of the night and I'll get a stroke of genius, or I'll think it's genius, and then I'll dart up from bed and
Turns out you were just having a stroke.
I'm just having a stroke. But I'll dart up from bed and I'll put that name that I thought that was so esoteric and so brilliant into a Google search, and there's 17 beers named that, and it's very frustrating, right?
Or
It
if you
is.
can't reach your phone, you got to convince yourself that it wasn't a good name.
Thanks, Mitch. So, uh, so I've always found it difficult, but in a small brewery, which we are, we do not have a creative team. We do not have a marketing team. I have a marketing team that runs social media. They do videos. I think they're doing a great job. I've worked through a lot of different teams over the years. The one that I'm working right now, I'm really happy with their output. But quite frankly, we don't pay them enough so that we can like workshop 10 new beer names every year and they'll just go and give us creative ideas for it and images and create labels. That's not their job. So it's left to us, the people on the inside of the brewery, and none of us have that skill set. Now, I do have an in-house designer who does all of our labels, who's, I think, very good at what he does. And he's got graphic design experience. He also works in our cellar. And that's a asset to me that I'm very happy to have. But it doesn't necessarily mean that we're coming up with the best names, the best concepts, or any of those things. But there's an expectation that we should be. We should be coming up with these like all-encompassing, brilliant ideas that have like these long tendrils of marketing uh, potential. And I am maybe I am too negative or too pessimistic when I say that we come up with a beer name, it's just going to be in and out and it's never going to be seen again. And 7 people see it on social media and 150 people see it in the bar, and then it goes away and then we do another thing. That might just be because that's the industry I was kind of brought up in. Whereas I think that there are other people that have higher expectations of like what these names and concepts can be. And it's hard when you're in a small brewery to like coalesce on this and all have your oars rowing in the same direction.
Yeah, I mean, one of the struggles for any company is having a clear, well articulated brand vision, right? Like, I don't know if you guys have mission, vision, values, all that stuff. I'm sure you don't. And when you work in a large corporation, a lot of times that seems kind of bullshit. But at the same time, they become these really good anchor points. And when you talk specifically about brands, when you get into the depth of the style guide to what is it you're trying to do, like a brand like that comes up with a expect more, pay less thing like Target did, like uh there was a lot of thought into that, and it seems silly, but it brings back this anchor point, right? And so you guys are Barrel of Monks, but you've had beers that have had nothing to do with monks. Like, how much do you make Belgian your anchor point versus how much do you not? I think I, when there is kind of a not clear on what direction to type of go, then everyone's going to have an opinion because I mean, everyone always has an opinion. Um, I but I think that were when I think about some of the more successful brands in the past, they always tried to rally it around something. But then you quickly look, and some of them that were only doing this, like when Furious launched, it was like cynic and bitter brewer, and it was all about like being curmudgeonly and angry and metal and all of that stuff, and then and now they've they started getting a little bit more one man mosh pit, but now they've got some that like the names have nothing to do with that. Because I think the added problem is kind of like what you had said is um about you get on Google and there's 17 beer names out there is already done it. You know what I mean? Like there's so like even if you have the most well articulated very specific brand focus, understand what your brand equity is, understand because brand, if I can get philosophical here, is the mental real estate that you occupy in the mind of the consumer. You don't own your brand. You own your brand to an extent, but you don't own your brand. Yeah. Uh, right? Because Walmart, if you ask any executive at Walmart what their brand is, they will tell you. But if I ask you guys what the Walmart brand is, you're gonna be everything's half stolen, half broken. Like, it's two very different things. The companies that do it well are able to marry what their vision is with what the consumer's understanding of them is. Uh, that that the largest companies in the world don't execute that well. So for a small company like you, I mean, that's a lot of variables.
So I want to give Mike. I want to give you space to talk about this, but I do. You mentioned obviously I was talking about my experience, and then you kind of piggybacked with that and talking about like the Belgian thing and how much do you lean into that. My brewery is a patchwork of different concepts layered on top of each other, metamorphosizing in real time to survive in a very competitive and oversaturated industry.
Yeah.
I will say this unapologetically and with humbleness in my heart. The name of my brewery is terrible. It was terrible the day we came up with it. It pigeonholed us into something we would never be able to sustain, and it put us on the back foot constantly because we were never going to succeed as only doing Belgian style beers. We were 20 years late. We weren't like a couple of years. Shit, if we would have launched 6 months earlier, it would have been great. No, we were way too late to make Belgian beer an important thing here in South Florida, if it ever had a chance to do it. So we're Barrel of Monks, but when I sat down with my marketing team, when we brought the new marketing team on, I had to say, please stop using monk images. Don't lean into this so hard because this is not our identity. Our number 1 and number 2 selling beers are not Belgian inspired. So we need to be more than this while still kind of acknowledging our history And what really ties us to that history is like fundamentally good beer styles, traditional brewing tactics, and care put into the product, which is echoed by the European brewing tradition. But if we had to, I've now been a part of Barrel of Monks for over 11 years. And if I could do it all over again, it wouldn't be called Barrel of Monks. It wouldn't be in Boca Raton. I would have done everything differently. And we might have had a different chance to do some other things. But I think a lot of people end up in that same situation. And to bring it back to this conversation specifically, we're a patchwork based on the people that happen to be in our orbit,
Mm-hmm.
that happen to be there right now. And by
Mm-hmm.
happen to be, I'm not saying like it's happenstance, like these people are just random. No, the most valuable people to my brewery are my head brewer, are my taproom manager, are the people that I'm lucky to have on my team. But they don't necessarily have all the skill set of marketing, nor would we ever ask them to. But we ask them to. And that's an unfair position to put a lot of people in. And I don't know what the expectation should be when you compare what my partners do on a regular basis is like, well, look at what this brewery's doing. Oh, you mean Sierra Nevada? Oh, so we're comparing ourselves to them. Cool. Okay, let me recalibrate my brain so I can respond to that, because that's where I find myself at a lot of times.
So, a interesting thing with all of that you were just talking about, Kevin, is there's another brewery that comes to my mind that is a very similar situation, especially because the word monk is also in their name, and that's Monkish Brewing out of California, who I don't hear as much about them right now, but they were in the early days of the haze craze, like jumping into that and getting recognized for that as a brewery called Monkish, who originally started making just Belgian style beers and pivoting into American style stuff because it was what their consumer base wanted, and riding that wave. And I'm sure that they probably also hate their name, and that it pigeonholes them in a place that they are not even in anymore, but just saying that name resonates something to certain people, and whether that be good or bad, and then when they actually experience you, maybe that changes again. So you can never fault someone for, like, truly for making that decision on that name. It's what you do with it, and then how you just try to pivot and make the changes as you are. I mean, there was a point in time where I talked with you, Kevin, and your partners about coming on as a marketing person many years ago, and I talked about with your partners about breweries who started off doing Belgian style stuff who aren't doing Belgian style stuff anymore. And like being like, this is something that you're gonna have to probably think about yourselves, because I think at that point you guys weren't really adventuring out too far, maybe a little bit, but not what you are today. And like using the brewery as an example, like a brewery who started themselves as a Belgian style brewery, who became known for a big barrel aged imperial stout, and make tons of now pastry style beers and so on. But to go back to the main point of what we were talking about is yeah, I mean, I am, for all intents and purposes, a creative person working in a brewery. I am paid to be a marketing person primarily. I wasn't always. I like I am a person who has worked in the cellar. I have brewed beer. I have packaged beer. I have bartended. I have done taxes. I have sold beer. I've done practically everything else in this industry. But I came into the brewing with an understanding of graphic design, with the knowledge of building websites, with social media knowledge, and then eventually adding photography to my background, to my skill set that I now think is possibly my strongest suit, and wanting it to be, I want to be in that part. Excuse me, but I realized really quickly many places didn't have the ability to really take on someone like that at a small scale and pay them properly. So I was doing a lot of this as being in the cellar, as being in the brewery, and it's it's tough trying to balance two things at the same time, or multiple things at the same time, and then you are communicating with other people in like ownership, your managers for the brewery, your tap room manager, your tap room staff. Like everyone's coming at me with different ideas and different things, and like it's hard to parse it all out sometimes, and you don't want to hurt someone's feelings by saying, "Oh, that's a bad idea." But sometimes if you don't say that, "Oh, I don't really think that's a good idea," a bad idea takes root and just goes. Um,
Yeah. So you made me think of two things. One was, so I was an art and theater major in undergrad, and one thing that got so ingrained in me, because in a painting studio, we all do a still life, and then the very next thing is we all put that up in front of the class for critique, and everyone tears your shit apart, and you have to learn to like just sit there and have your thing you just spent the last 4 weeks on get completely torn apart. You do in the acting program, you do an audition, and then you sit there and you get feedback from your peers of everything you did wrong. And so that just became so ingrained in me. And then when I got into the real world and started working in business, I just took that tear everything apart type of thing, because to me it was a non-personal issue, because I learned so long ago to not take it personally, that I kind of forgot, especially in the Midwest where, you know, I grew up in Eastern Iowa, so I have a lot more Chicago influence than Minnesota influence. And Minnesotans are very, very passive aggressive, and very everything is taken offense to, and you have to really walk on eggshells, all those types of things. That becomes a really big deal that not everyone kind of learns that skill set. So yeah, you're right. Like it becomes difficult to make a smart marketing decision when you all have to work side by side every day, and not and people are wearing so many hats that now you've just kind of not given a blessing to, but you haven't said no to a dumb idea. And that's tough in those small things, in those small businesses. The other thing that I was thinking of was when I was in business school, in my entrepreneurial management class. Uh, one of the projects was we were in groups with, and you had to put together business plans, and they were supposed to be very real business plans. So people had, a lot of those guys in business school were trying to be entrepreneurs, and they had these business plans. And every single time, every single group, every single time, the feedback from the professor was, "You're not putting enough money into marketing. You're not putting enough money into marketing. You're not putting enough money into marketing." And I wish every small business owner would have taken that exact same class, because I'm hearing you guys work for small businesses or own small businesses, and the reality is you're not putting enough money into marketing, and you guys know that. And I'm not saying that you can, but I'm saying
But
that yeah.
but the
yeah,
but the other question to that, and I'll let you jump in here, Mike, after I said this, even though I could probably talk for 20 minutes on this, but, um, there's also an expectation of what will you get out of that marketing. And I have not personally, my partner group has put thousands of dollars into marketing that has netted us nothing.
Mhm.
I mean, has been a complete money sink because of where we are in the market. We don't have a position that gives us a lot of versatility. But Mike, please jump in there.
It's funny that you said that exact thing because that was where I was going. I think that uh, people who start small businesses who even have like a rudimentary concept on business management will always go to ROI, and be like, okay, so if I put this in, how quickly can I get that back? And marketing doesn't have that. Like very few things in marketing have pretty standard ROI, return on investment, for those who don't know what I'm talking about. Um, there are things that are pretty concrete that I would consider marketing. Your merchandise, those are parts of your marketing, and you buy them for X amount of dollars. You put your margin in. You get your return on investment at X. That stuff's easy, but doing ads, uh, putting money into creating a brand with maybe a firm, like we've done that for brands, as opposed to me creating stuff. That can sometimes be difficult to gauge. Like, okay, when are we really seeing an ROI on that? And you know, I hate to say this because I can be so blunt about it, and I don't have the nuance and the I guess schooling acumen to really make it. But sometimes you just gotta fucking try and see. Um,
Yeah,
if business starts picking up a little bit in certain areas, then you can say like, okay, it's kind of working here, it's kind of working there, it's not kind of working here. So if you feel like if you feel and you see the dollars changing a little bit, then you see it might work. If it's not, try pivoting into something different. It doesn't mean that you have to commit to that particular strategy for very long. You can, and that's why I say this. I get people from magazines coming at me with ad stuff all the time, and they want like 6 to 12 month commitments on ad space, and I'm like, no, we're not gonna do that, man. Like I like even me, like me myself, not even thinking my boss, like I know my boss would never do that, but if I believed that it was the right thing to do, I would at least try to argue for it. But I don't even think that that's the right thing to do, because for small businesses like us, we got to be able to pivot if we think and feel that a thing's not working, to be able to pull that money out and go, okay, let's try it somewhere else. And that's I think just kind of part of the beast of marketing is money's constantly going to be going into it, but it's really difficult to gauge what is coming back from it.
absolutely. And a couple of things I want to clarify that, because one, yeah, you are right. There is not a direct ROI on that, and a lot of times it's hard to capture it. And we have a lot of bullshit metrics like number of impressions. Well, number of impressions doesn't turn into a number of sales. Like I hate all
Yeah,
of that.
exactly.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
I think the other thing is that your dumbest friend was a marketing major. Like there's a lot of bad marketing agencies and people out there. And so that is a struggle. And so when she was saying you need to budget more for marketing, it wasn't that you need to do these big spends, but it's that you need to have allowances for things that maybe don't work, or to diversify your marketing portfolio, or like that is why she was saying that the budget needs to be larger, is because if you think, you know what, I can get X done with X campaign, you're not going to. And so it wasn't go spend a ton of money on an ad for the Super Bowl, right? That's .com, a perfect example of why you don't do that. Um, but it was more that there are channels that you haven't even thought of that you don't want to have all your money tied up in this print ad when you could be doing this over here. And I think that is kind of more of of where it was at. And again,
Yeah.
huge point about ROI, because it's very difficult when you are hanging on by a thread to do that. It's the easiest thing to cut. I 1,000% get that. I think when you look at the companies that have been successful, it's because they did allow themselves space, agency or no, to just have the reign to be able to try multi-channel.
One of the things I think it's important for us to do, and this is hard in the moment if you're, in your feelings and dealing with something, but I think it's important to kind of analyze your own biases and where your mentality comes from. And we've tried a lot of things at Barrel of Monks. We've spent a lot of money that we're never going to get back. But I think that my pessimism comes from the fact is that I cut my teeth at a brewery that succeeded, and this is while I was part of them. I know things changed a lot after I was gone, but succeeded completely unintentionally. I mean,
Despite themselves.
well, not even despite themselves. It wasn't doing bad things and succeeding no matter what. It was Maple Bacon Coffee Porter was not a beer that was created because we wanted to make an incredible pastry stout. It was literally, oh, someone dropped off some coffee with these extracts soaked in it. Let's throw it in a keg of one of our beers and see what happens. Oh, there's a porter here. That sounds good, right? Hence and therefore a phenomenon is created. Not everything was that unintentional, but so much of it was. And there was a space for that at the time, and there was time and place. And I think there was good beer. I think good there was good luck, good marketing, and good business all wrapped into one that didn't get in its own way. And part of me stubbornly thinks that that's how business should be done, is that like we should just make a good product and get lucky sometime and then we can be successful. The hard pick and shovel work of really diving down into this and like making a brand and focusing on it and in spite of all the odds pushing through it seems like, well, if you have to do that, then it's just not going to be successful. And I know that's not true, but my biases lead me to believe that. And it's hard to divorce myself from that. It's hard to divorce myself from my past and my experience, which is valuable, but also can be a little bit of a hindrance when someone comes to you and says, "Hey, I can, make this brand bigger, or I can come up with a good idea." And you go, "Oh no, I know all about this already. I don't need your input." That's not necessarily fair to those people.
Yeah, I mean, I think the challenge, like, so one thing that you said, and I do agree, uh, Barrel of Monks was probably a terrible name. Uh, and no,
We had to go back to that. That's what you had to go back to.
no. My no. What I'm saying
Okay,
is
I'm
that
just messing with you.
small businesses are not the only ones guilty of this, right? Uh, Kentucky Fried Chicken is no longer called Kentucky Fried Chicken. It's called KFC because they were trying to pivot away from chicken. You know why? Because chicken is a volatile market. Buffalo Wild Wings is dumb for being called Buffalo Wild Wings because wing prices are completely volatile. Like, there are those things where a lot more things, like the brilliance of the name Target. What is Target? It's a destination. That's it, right? And now, if in 20 years people aren't selling sports goods and consumer electronics in retail stores, they can still be a retail store for whatever, right? Like the ability to pivot is huge, and but also to be able to take advantage of that lightning in a bottle situation you were talking about, right? Is now there doesn't have to be this weird conflict in the mind of the consumer that allows you to take advantage of more of those lightning in a bottle situations, right? KFC can come up with the world's best burger right now, but people have already associated them with chicken and only chicken, and there's going to be too much cognitive dissonance in the mind of the consumers for them to ever be able to take advantage of if they have the best type of burger or fuck it, spaghetti. You know what I mean?
That's why Dunkin' dropped donuts from their official
Yeah.
name like a few
Yeah.
years ago.
Well, and everyone runs on Dunkin'. People aren't using donuts as fuel; they're using coffee as fuel. That's the whole point. Like they pivoted for that stuff, right?
Arby's, as big as they are, has struggled to put burgers on the menu because they're used to cold cut sandwiches.
Yep, and that's why they're screaming, "We got the meats," and no one thinks of them as a burger joint.
Yeah.
Right, or even a chicken joint or a fish joint. Like they've been pushing a lot of those things. I think that lightning in a bottle situation. Yeah, you're right. Like you shouldn't have to do it. The things that work is that happy little accidents, but it's a whole other thing to position yourself to be able to take advantage of the happy little accidents that come along. That was my point. Like I wasn't trying to shit on you for the Barrel Monks thing, but my point is that is that when you already have baggage, it just becomes marketing now becomes that much harder because now you're having to overcome that because you can't. It's harder to position yourself in that space.
That mentality of being in a position to take advantage of a good situation is everything. And
Yeah.
one of the things I wanted to talk about the most in this show was about like utilizing the talent of your staff. And some of us have a staff of like 5 people, right? And some breweries have a staff of 1,500. And we have roles that they fill on a regular basis. And then we ask people to also put on a different hat and say, "Oh, I'm going to name a beer. Oh, I'm going to come up with a new marketing idea. Oh, I'm going to come up with I'm going to contribute to the anniversary party and contribute an idea that will bring people to the table for some kind of event." That's the great thing about small businesses is that everybody involved can get involved in those aspects, which they absolutely would not do at Yingling. Right? The person who runs the on-site tap room at the Tampa Yingling location has nothing to do with what new beers come out. Nothing.
Yeah.
They never will. They shouldn't. It's too big. But in my brewery, the person who runs our tap room can say, "Hey, dude, we should come out with this new beer with hibiscus and rose petals," and I go, "Oh, okay, and then let's try it out." It's a really cool aspect of the business that we run, but we also have to have filters put in place to say, is this a good idea? How do we evaluate these things while still empowering people to make decisions and give us an opportunity to succeed? It's a really thin line to walk.
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword, right? Because you know what? I would always want. I mentioned this before we started about so many places it was like up to the brewers to name the beer, and I was like, that's like asking the software developers to name the software. Like, they're really good at a skill set that is not marketing. Like that, that you're asking them to do that, and if you are going to spend money on that stuff. I'm not saying don't ask them to contribute. If they've got a great name, fuck it, run with it, take advantage of it. That is awesome. But when roles and responsibilities become muddy, right? It doesn't matter if you're a staff of 3 or a staff of 3,000. When roles and responsibilities become muddy, then A, everyone's voice counts equally when it shouldn't, right? Or B, responsibility is put on people when it maybe shouldn't. And I think that's where small businesses really struggle is because everyone's wearing so many hats. Either it becomes a democracy, which shit, this is the second podcast where I'm going to sound like the freaking right-wing nut job. Democracy doesn't work in a business. You know what I mean?
I've said it. If I've said it once, I've said it 1,000 times. Democracy does not work. Tim Johnson.
But yeah. But at some
I'll just cut out the in business part.
Yeah. Well, but at some point you have to have gatekeepers. Like if you put someone in charge of something, you know what? I want my chief marketing officer at my Fortune 500 company to listen to the line lead on uh, the kitchen staff at a small restaurant. Absolutely, I want him to do that. But someone still has to shepherd kind of that brand and that vision because a leader rallies people towards a better future. They inspire people towards a vision. And there might be a billion great ideas. Someone still has to distill them and be able to bring cohesion to all of that. And so if you get six people and all have a different opinion, where do you go from there? Or if you've got six people and all of them think that they should have equal input, well, yeah, you know what? I said my piece. I said why I think mine's important. I'm going to say you're stupid until the day you die. But I do recognize that that's your role. And that's where, like, in a small business, that's kind of the double-edged sword of all of that is making sure that you have someone in place to go ahead and say, okay, now, again, they may not be the right person in that place either, but if it's their business, it's theirs to die on.
Yeah, man, I have so much feelings about that because
Yeah.
you when you have a team of people who are all very green to the concept of marketing, I totally can see the whole crowdfunding, if you will, to go back to that to get ideas from everyone in the company, like can be a potentially beneficial thing.
Oh,
But
1,000%.
when you do have people in place whose jobs and skill sets involve the marketing, like going over their heads to crowdsource ideas is a little bit of a slap in the face, and also just like no, we don't. I, I'll be straight up honest. Like when I started at this position in Copper Point, like it's still a work in progress with dealing with everyone in management there. But there's a point where very soon after, my boss put out a message on Slack. It was like, "Hey, we have this new beer. Throw out name ideas to all the bar staff." And I was like, no, 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 no. We're not doing this. Like, this is my job. Like, I am the marketing person. I can come up with a name for a one-off beer that you're going to be throwing on tap. Like, we don't need to crowdsource stuff anymore. Like,
Yeah,
and
and not everyone has a skill set you do, so asking them to do that is a little
yeah,
silly.
and and because it already went out, of course, stuff was flooding in, and it is terrible puns. It is using other businesses' names. It's using like names of stuff like it's like no, we're not doing this. But like it takes time to get used to something like that. It takes time to get used to, hey, we have a person who knows what they're talking about with this stuff, so we need to rely on them a little more for that and not jump in on it as much. It's I remember I can't I think it was the first time that we had Matty Smooth on the show that he talked about, because he's been at New Belgium for almost his entire life. And he's been there for almost the entire existence of that brewery. He talked about how New Belgium became very marketing focused, I think in less than 5 years. I don't want to jump out at what the year was, but it was less than 5 years of existence. They became a marketing driven brewery. That was in the 80s or early 90s that they opted to go with the focus of like spending the money, having marketing be a driving force of that brand. And today they are still probably one of the biggest drivers of marketing in the brewing industry. Um, not that I'm saying that like I'm going to turn fucking Copperpoint into Voodoo Ranger or anything like that, but like it can be tough for a company who went off of we are all not very keen on this section of business. We're working on it together. We're getting ideas from all over the place to then have someone come in who I didn't go to school for this shit. I just pay a lot of attention. Maybe I'm ultra online to the brewing industry, but like to have
You
someone
need to
come in
touch
and have
grass.
what?
So you need to touch grass, Mike.
I touch grass a lot. That too. I like to go out and take pictures of birds. You know that. There's
I
grass
do.
involved in there.
I took a picture of a turkey today, but it was blurry because it was running away. It was right in front of the brewery, like literally outside the window, like 10 feet from me.
Birds aren't real, just so you guys know.
That's true.
Just put that out there.
That's the one conspiracy theory that I will ascribe to as well. So thank you.
You know that's a parody, right?
Parody of a
Conspiracy
theory. Yes.
theories,
Yeah.
They actually raise money for like avian charities and
But
stuff like that.
I know some people who actually have
I know,
fallen
I know.
for that, and you know them too.
Yeah.
Mike, I think it's so important to. I talked about it a little bit, like the fine line of empowering people in your brewery to really own the brand, and I understand in saying that you're not owning the brand, you're not getting a dividend paid out for every single case. So I'm not trying to say that, but
You could.
well, potentially.
and you're not wrong.
Yeah. Okay. Mike just told me to go fuck myself. But
no, I didn't.
No.
I'm just
No, but
saying you could empower me and give me some,
But-
you know.
Well, but what I'm trying to say is that even when I had nothing to do with the ownership of a business, when I was able to, I named several beers at Funky Buddha. Wide Awake It's Morning. I was a big fan of Bright Eyes, and that was my idea for a name. And I was so proud of that. I named a beer, an amber ale called Don't Try. It was after a Charles Bukowski poem. I was Ordinary Madness was Tales of Ordinary Madness by Charles Bukowski. Apparently a lot of Charles Bukowski stuff, but it meant a lot to me to be a part of that creative process and lend what I thought were fun, interesting names that would work with what that beer was. Ordinary Madness was a barley wine, high alcohol. I'm thinking about an old man in a flop house, drinking fortified wine out of a paper bag. So made a barley wine and called it Ordinary Madness. I want that aspect for the small team that I have, even if everybody doesn't have the skill set of a marketing professional that can take that brand and make it a commercial brand that sits on the shelf at a grocery store. So I think, we want that. We want those people to be empowered, but we also want to have somebody who's like the boss who knows what they're doing. When it comes to the marketing aspect and the naming aspect, it's not me. I'm not a professional in this. I have ideas, and I think I have opinions that can be valuable. But at Barrel of Monks, we don't have that one person who has like this set job. And I think that Barrel of Monks is very similar to like 99% of other breweries out there, where it's just like, come one, come all, come with your ideas.
And
Kevin, I empower you to be that person to make
but he
that
doesn't.
decision.
But he doesn't want to be that person.
I don't want the power.
And
Take it back.
So and
No,
here's
I will not take it back.
And here's where I'm going
Fuck you, Mike.
to very bluntly come out there and say this, Kevin. You should have that person, because I agree. I love that idea. I loved all the kind of kooky little names I came up with as a brewer. But Mike has this very middle management position that I mean this in the most positive way, Mike, that it becomes a struggle in small businesses, because so many small businesses, how many small business owners love to brag about how many hats they wore. I was CFO, HR, CMO, CEO, blah 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 blah, did all this stuff, and now they think that they have to and they have a hard time letting go, or they farm it out to everyone. When the reality is the best leaders say, like, best boss I ever had was at Badger Hill. All places I've ever worked, it was the best one. When he started off, he was the head brewer. But like he literally he told me this day. So he left brewing. He sold the brewery. He's out. He's got a 6-figure sales job for some large industrial thing or whatever. And he sent me a text the other day saying, "Hey, I brought you and me up in a meeting, and I talked about it, how it was important to build trust, and how one time you wanted to dump 40 barrels of beer." Because it didn't meet our standards. And even though it was going to be a huge loss, we just went, yep, do it. And I said, yep. And I love that you entrusted me to do that. I think a lot of times small business owners struggle. They either want to give it to everyone, or they want to own it all, or they want to do both, but they don't do a good enough job of saying, hey, I've hired a marketing person for a reason. I now designate them. Right? And so when someone does go over that marketing person's head, they go, cool, talk to Mike about that. Like, I think that's where a lot of small business owners struggle is they want to say they've empowered someone to be the head of marketing, and that doesn't mean that other people don't have input. But you as the head of marketing needs to be the filter for that stuff.
The final word.
Yeah. Well, even if the owner is the final word, it's literally the best leaders, the best business owners understand that they want to empower their line level employee, but they also want to empower their managers. And those are two different types of empowerment. And that becomes a big struggle because so many people go, oh, hey, Mike, I know what you do. I did it. I did it to launch the brand. So I did it. Well, no, the brand is a completely different monster than when you launched it. Since you've hired me, so many things have changed. Like, now you hired me to make your life easier. So fucking get out of my way and let me make your life easier. Like, that's where so many businesses struggle, is that they're not getting out of the way and letting the leaders they hired lead. If I hired someone to lead, fucking let them lead. Now, again, that doesn't mean that Joe Bartender comes to me. I'm not going to bring it to you, but I'm also going to defer to your opinion. I don't know anything about your owners. I'm not trying to make a comment about your owners. I don't know the situation you're in. I don't know anything like that. But I think where I find a lot of people in, and when I say middle management, is that they are up here in terms of decision making, but they get new. I felt like that as head brewer at so many places. I would get neutered on decisions that I thought really should have been mine to make. And I was neutered because someone whose decision wasn't made to make it had voiced something and went over my head, and the owner didn't have my back and neutered me. And it's not good for anybody in that business. It's not good for the owner. It's not good for the department head, and it's not good for the line level employee who even feels like it's good for them, because really it's just training poor behaviors that are going to lead to bad brand health, bad team health, like all of those things. And I think that's what sucks about small businesses. So, like I said, to go back to that double-edged sword, man, I love that. So, like, again, Buffalo Wild Wings, we created this limited time offering that literally came out of a kitchen, and it became so good, and they were so dumb. They operated like a small business. Us on the food and beverage team named everything, which it really should. We had a full-fledged marketing department. We had hired multiple creative agencies, and literally we're still the ones just coming up with Screamin' Nacho Burger. We are also we became better leveraged to take advantage of those things, but it still could get filtered through someone. And I think that, like, maybe a lot of times in small businesses, we give these people titles like director of marketing, or I even knew someone who at a place who was given the title of chief operating officer, and she didn't know how to operate anything at all. And
she wasn't a chief, so it was very confusing.
Nor an officer. She had never served. Frankly, that's stolen valor. Um, so it's cultural appropriation and stolen valor, all in one.
Problematic on many, many fronts.
but I I think when it becomes so much harder in marketing because everyone feels like they have a voice. Like there are so many people, who open up a brewery, they go, fuck, I don't understand running a tap room and I hate running a tap room. So I'm going to hire a tap room manager to run my tap room. Or shit, I was lousy at sales and I hated going out to accounts. So I'm going to listen to my sales manager. Marketing, to kind of go back to your ROA thing, it becomes so much more nebulous that brewery owner, first of all, I was creative enough to come up with the idea of doing a brewery. I was creative enough to like I'll say it. It's arrogance on the part of brewery owners, particularly small brewery owners, that they'll happily seed sales, they'll happily seed tap room, but they won't seed marketing. And that I think is where a lot of small breweries fail. Is that they're not listening to the best people that they hired to be their best.
Yeah, I think that, and maybe that this is theory, because I've worked for a few breweries. I know people who have worked for many others, and we talk. The attachment that a brewery owner, especially a small brewery owner that is open since the year 2010 or so, is so personal to a lot of these people. Like they it's not just a business venture for them, it's not just a job, it's part of who they are. And ceding any sort of control over that, how the brewery is perceived, which is marketing, branding, is almost as if you are ceding part of you, and that it is not part of who you are anymore. The business changes now. Oh, someone else is kind of driving the car, and it just doesn't have to be that way. It's an ego thing. It is, and
ego isn't bad. Ego gets shit done.
To a certain extent, yeah.
Yeah, but it becomes overweening at some point. So yeah, you're right. That's where it becomes an overweening pride.
I don't have any solid data on any of this, but I'm going to use a brewery for example here that I know has marketing behind it because
let's just call them Schmerl of Bronx.
Let's call them.
He's not. He's going. He's going with the brewery that actually has marketing dollars behind it. Tim, you missed that part.
Yes, yeah. Let's call them Hogfish Dead, and so Dogfish. I mean,
yeah,
this is a brewery that even before Boston Beer bought them, they had many dollars in their marketing. And Sam is still a figurehead there. Sam is still being used forward, the owner and founder of that company. But they have a marketing company or a marketing team there that handles that and drives that brewery. Like there's a good way of doing it, and there's a bad way, and there's bad ways of doing it. Like I mean. I'm saying this as someone who does not own a business, let alone a brewery. But I am a person who wants to empower people who would work with me, and like anyone who I ever worked with and trained in the breweries that I've worked at before, I always wanted them to be able to make decisions for themselves and teach them how to make decisions for themselves and come to me with problems so that we can try to fix them together. But I empower them to be their own person and eventually be a leader as well. And because if I was a business owner, I just want to think of big picture stuff. And honestly, I'm okay with just sitting back and fucking taking some of the money. I mean, that's kind of what an owner is, right? But if you empower the people below you, I hate saying below because it does sound demeaning, but I mean, in a hierarchical
Yeah, yeah,
standard, it is.
yeah.
But you empower those
We all get
people,
that.
you trust them, you trust that. I think that's the biggest thing is trust. You empower and you trust and you let them run the show. Like I would love to see the metamorphosis of a business that I come up with by empowering people that I trust and that have awesome skills and just see where it goes. If you think that it's going really off the rails, that's when you can step in, sure. But if things are working and they maybe are not your thing, you gotta go with results, right?
Well,
So
yeah, I mean, I respect business leaders that were founders that built these huge brands and then learned when to get the fuck out of the way, right? Dick Schultz built Best Buy into this power company and eventually went, oh, shit, someone else should be running this now at this point, right?
and who knows that name? Like not very many people know that guy's
Yeah.
name.
Yeah.
I
But,
Tim
didn't.
does.
yeah. But the point is sometimes I'll give you one more relevant debate. Uh, Tony, Lagunitas Brewing,
Oh yeah.
right? He knew when to get the fuck out of the way. And the brand got even bigger after he did, Tony McGee.
Yeah.
And I don't, I mean, obviously Tony went through his own things and he was a character, but sometimes, and to your point, sometimes you have to come back in, Jim Cook, right? Uh, but, but sometimes I have a great idea and I built this great business, but I'm not going to be the person to take it to another level. And that doesn't mean get out of the way to be a CEO, but maybe my brilliant ideas of marketing 10 years ago were brilliant then, but now I've empowered someone to take it into a different level type of thing. I think that is a struggle. So when you say ego, you're right. And I don't even mean ego like, oh, there's a character flaw there. It's like you said, it's so much of their identity. Sometimes it's hard to be like, I remember one time. So again, that boss I was talking about at Badger Hill. I remember one time, like he was getting this and this and this and this, and he asked me a question, and I paused, and he went, "Nope, you're right. That's not my domain anymore. I gave that over to you. This is yours." It was the coolest experience I had ever felt in my entire life. Is that he still wanted to have his identity so much in that. And all it took was me just pausing before answering. And that pause was enough for him to go, oh shit, I'm now encroaching into that space. That's not an easy thing to do when you've put blood, sweat, tears, you've sacrificed family time, you've sacrificed money, you've cashed in
I'm
your
glad you put
retirement.
time in there because I thought you sacrificed family and like you put them on a pedestal and you chopped into your firstborn and
Well,
Well,
you're Job, and you had
yeah,
to sacrifice your firstborn child to Yahweh. I mean, it makes perfect sense. We've all done it, all
I
of
don't
us, right?
that
Right?
who
I don't
hasn't?
Right?
Correct. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that wasn't Job, was it? I don't think that was Job.
Wasn't
Job
Job?
went No, Job went through several other trials.
Abraham?
Abraham.
That was
God damn it,
Abraham.
you're right. I just took a freaking class on religion. How did I go to Job instead of Abraham?
Yeah,
This is
no.
why I will not succeed in the world of academia.
Yeah, uh, and so I do understand why small brewery owners struggle with it. But again, large breweries are running into a lot of these same things, right? When we talk about to go back to the whole naming thing, right? There was this stupid New York Times opinion piece, I think it was New York Times, a couple weeks ago about here's why craft beer is failing, and it was supported by Zero Data, and it was talking about all the wacky names and the wacky marketing, and it's like there's 3 billion things. How do you, first of all, like I literally started using random word generators on Google to start naming beers because war like Blast Eagle was not something anyone was naming a beer because there were two words that didn't fit together, but at least could mean something that if I went on Untapped, I couldn't find.
Great name.
Yeah, so go at Blast Eagle is all yours. Also, I before the pod, random jabroni. If you want to take that one.
Oh, I did look it up. It isn't taken.
Okay.
Pure genius.
This officially counts as a copyright. Barrel of Monks officially owns the copyright to Random Jabroni. Any breweries that will use this will be subject to a cease and desist. Um, I'm not a lawyer, but I watch a lot of Law and Order. That not even I haven't even watched Law and Order in like 10 years, but I used to watch
You're
a lot
just a
of Law and
small
Order.
town bird lawyer. We understand.
Yes. I could go into a holy Charlie Kelly rant. But like, and there's umpteen billion things, and you're fighting for space. Like, it's so silly to me that people don't think that people aren't just trying to do everything they can to stand out. And the more players there are in a space, the harder that lightning in a bottle is to catch and be the only one, right? Like, your odds of winning the lottery don't get harder the more people play, but your odds of winning the lottery all by yourself get harder the more people play, right? That last big Powerball that was a billion that didn't make one person a billionaire. It made like 3-person millionaires. Still defeated the odds to get there. But the more people that are into space, the harder it is to be able to capture that lightning in a bottle. So I don't blame any brewery right now that is, as long as they're not doing the dumb shit, stealing IP or being offensive. But like, if you want to literally named anything, just look around your room and be like, high five VCR, and just it. And yes, that gives you an age of how, like how old I am, that I literally just pointed at my room and went, high five VCR.
I wrote that name down.
Okay, well, you can take high five VCR. You can steal my IP and put my picture on there.
Oh,
Is it
you can do so much with different colors and designs, like those old blank VHS cases.
Oh,
yeah,
gorgeous.
yeah, literally my face trying to put the needle on my Victrola and then sticking a VHS into my VCR as I'm putting a Johnny Mathis album. Because that's the first thing right there is a Johnny Mathis album on my Victrola. So yeah, go ahead and take all of that. Jesus, I am 93 years old. Is what I just learned.
What's the story behind all of this? Can you provide a paragraph?
Let's talk about the story.
I feel like that brings it all full circle.
Yeah. Well, and you know what? And then you would have your story, Kevin. You would have your story to say, hey, I named this because this asshole I record with is super old and is making fun of the beer industry and likened it to a record player and a video cassette recorder. If anyone knows what a cassette is.
I certainly do, because I'm as old as you. To try to, I won't do this successfully, by the way. So, Mike, you can wrap this up. But to try to put a bow on this, I think that we all want to empower the people that are in our orbit. Mike, not so much, because he's the person who's supposed to be empowered. But in general, we do want contributions. We do want people to feel a sense of ownership and to get some pride out of the marketing, the naming of beers and things of that nature. But it's really difficult because, speaking as someone who makes the final decision, and I'll be honest with you, I'm almost 45 years old. That still is bizarre to me that I am in a position to make a final decision on anything. I think anyone in my position should have a healthy amount of imposter syndrome, because you should be questioning, why the fuck am I in the position to make any decision on anything? Do I have enough experience? Do I have enough expertise? Is it possible that I am just completely wrong on this? We want to be able to do that. We want to be able to give these avenues to the people that work with and for us. But it's hard. It's hard to give up that power. And especially when you start to feel strong ways about things, the buck has to stop with somebody. I like the idea of putting someone in charge and saying, "This is yours now, good or bad. I'm not going to override this. Just do it." That's probably the best way to go. And if you've empowered the wrong person, you just then say, "Well, that was a failure. Let's now put somebody else in charge of this for the time being." That's probably the best way to go about it.
You hire a shitty head brewer, you fire your head brewer. You hire a shitty marketing person, you fire your shitty marketing person. But you don't undercut your head brewer and you don't undercut your marketing.
Truer words have never been said. All right, let's go ahead and head on into last calls, the point in the show where we give each other an unspecific amount of time to talk about whatever it is that we want, beverage related or not. The only rules are that it's uninterrupted, unopposed, and unobjected. Tim, why don't you start things off with us?
So one thing that my daughter and I have been really getting into is she has started to get a little bit more into her dad's level of pedantry. Or pedantry, if you want to say it that way. But since I'm a pedant, I'm going to say actually it's pronounced pedantry. But when it comes to words and language and things like that, and one thing I had to really let go of, one is rules of grammar. Um, and I got a lot better about this when I took so back in like 2009, I had my first midlife crisis, and I thought I was going to go get a degree in cognitive neuroscience. And I took some graduate level courses in linguistics, since that's a subset of cognitive neuroscience, and I really very much enjoyed those classes more than anything. And one thing that we talked about is how there's descriptive and prescriptive rules of grammar. And so we always make fun of people when they screw up there or tense or things like that, or, ask versus ax. Well, come to find out that the word actually was originally ax, and we changed it to asks. And so the fact that some cultures, like in AAVE, have turned it back to ax, the reality is you know what's going on, and there's too many stupid rules. I've grown to despise spelling bees because perfect spelling. Now, I still make fun of people who, if you spell definitely with an A, you don't understand the root of the word. I still want you to understand the fucking root of the thing. Like, if you understand what infinite is and finite is, it's not infinite or finite. You know that. So definite, you know that. There's no A. You're confusing it with defiantly. And two people say defiantly, and now you've missed the meaning. If you are so bad at spelling that, you're missing the meaning. That bothers me. But one thing we have gotten into, yeah, I know. I'm already contradicting myself. I've learned, right. Like, for instance, the word was not apron; it was an apron, and so it evolved. So evolutionary linguistics is a real field of study that talks about how language evolves and how humans have evolved. It used to be an apron, and then it became an apron, and the word dropped the N in favor of apron, with the confusion of and an. And there's these whole things like acorns, things that still drive me up the wall when people say, for all intensive purposes, when it's supposed to be all intents and purposes. Those drive me up the wall, because I'm like, you don't even know what you're saying. You're just saying words to say things. And I need to learn to let that go. And I've been trying to work with my daughter to, like, let those things go. Yeah, they're wrong. They're saying the wrong thing. they get the gist of what they're trying to get a point. Like an egg corn is one of those things where you know people who spell just desserts wrong, like it's supposed to be like the thing you have after a meal when it's things that are deserved. So there's one S, not two. Right. Chomping at the bit is pronounced right, but it's spelled with an A because it's about chomping, but with an A. It's not champing at the bit. It is chomping, but it's not with an O, it's an A. Like all of those things that are so like I get so pedantic about, I've had to like try to learn to let go. And I feel like I had gotten better about that. Now to see my daughter kind of go through some of those things. Again, I was really good at spelling. I would win spelling bees when I was a kid. I remember being proud that I never had to take the actual test because I always aced the pretest when I was in second grade and like all those things. Like I've had to learn to let go of the rules in favor of the results. If I am communicating something to you, and I've realized this applies to a lot larger things, right? These unwritten rules that drive me up the wall. Unwritten rules about how we communicate, unwritten rules about how we dress. I swore off places that were ever going to make me wear khakis ever again because it's dumb. Nothing about khakis makes me better at my job. Or, I remember one time getting turned down for a job because they were surprised that I had and I haven't had earrings for 15 years, but I got turned down for a job because I had earrings. And I was like, literally the dude who turned me down because I had earrings, his boss wears earrings. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my entire life. But he's like, well, it's for international and I don't know how this is going to be perceived. And I'm like, but literally your boss is the boss of international. He's like, well, that's different. He's got kind of like a rock sort of persona. And I'm like, it's dumb. There's so many stupid rules, whether that become language or society, that the rules that are in place to make sure other people aren't hurt. Absolutely, right? Rules that are in place to make sure the less fortunate are looked out for. Absolutely. Rules to make people feel better about themselves. Fuck off with those. So language rules, grammar rules, I'm done being pedantic about it. I don't care if you misspell there. I don't care. Now if you're trying to brag about how smart you are and then you misspell there, yeah, I'll call you out. Like you're just being a dick, so I'll be a dick back. But so many of those things, then that's what I'm trying to maybe instill in my daughter is because it is fun to go into. I've always been a linguistics nerd. I've always been going down into uh, etymology and understanding the root. And I feel like so many times it bothers me when people don't know what they're saying because they haven't bothered to break down a word into its root form or look into what its root means. It, you know, to call back to the beginning of the podcast, Christianity is constantly misinterpreting Greek because these guys go to one Promise Keepers thing and think that they understand the Greek meaning of everything. Um, but the reality is, uh, if you are communicating what you are communicating, if what you are communicating is being received, I guess, uh, let's let's dispense with all the pageantry that is grammar and spelling and formal rules of business and formal rules of like I would rather like a senator get up and talk about Trump and be like, this motherfucker right here is tearing down a house that isn't even his to be able to remodel. Like, say that. Not this stupid, well, we're gonna send a strongly worded letter. We're gonna sit like that. God, the Democrats are so worried about rules without worried about results. Drives me insane. So anyway, fuck the rules. Just do the right thing.
All right. I'm going to hop in here. So I looked at I looked at my phone this morning, and I looked at an app that I look at practically every morning, and that's the weather app, to see what's going to go on today. And honestly, the last month or so in South Florida has been kind of nice. The humidity has gone down considerably. We're still having some hot days, but at least shade brings some relief. Breezes bring some relief to where when the humidity is off the charts, there's no escaping being drenched in sweat other than going into the AC. I looked down my 10-day forecast, and as of today, of recording this on the 22nd, uh, Halloween, the 31st, is now on the 10-day forecast. And as of recording this, it's about the same as what it was this morning. High of 71, low of 55, sunny. Fuck to the yes. I cannot wait for a day that does not have 80 degrees involved in it whatsoever. That means that our limited bit of fall that we have that is essentially leads into our winter, which is fall for most people, is approaching. And I'm very happy with that. And because it happens on Halloween, that also is awesome because that is like the official start of the holiday season. With Halloween, my wife's birthday is 2 days after that. My kid's birthday is the day after my wife's birthday. We have my dad's birthday. We have Thanksgiving. We have my birthday in December, Christmas. So it's one of my favorite times of the year when we get into Halloween and Thanksgiving and Christmas. So seeing that we get to kick off Halloween with a cool day here in South Florida is going to be fucking fantastic. I have one other thing unrelated to weather that I wanted to just throw in here, and that is a really, like, somehow from reputable sources, but a really dumb report that seems to indicate that the Phillies are going to trade for Tarek Skubal. And I'm like, that's never going to fucking happen. uh, as much as I would love to have him in my rotation, we're not going to get him. So fucking fuck off with that shit. Don't get my hopes up on shit like that. Kevin?
I want to comment on both of your things so badly. You just mentioned Terry Scoble and my Detroit Tigers. My last call actually does relate in some ways to what Tim says, and almost in a piggybacking way. So, my son is getting to the age where he is engaging in popular culture, stuff that's outside of us in a way that is very unique for us. I, Mike, you probably don't know this. Tim, you don't have to say it out loud, but you can give me a visual representation. Does your daughter do the 6'7" thing? Is 6'7" a thing that you're familiar with? Okay.
I don't know what that is.
So 6'7" is a meme that every kid in our neighborhood and every kid in Jad's school knows about. And it means something that's kind of like mid or not all that good. And I am furious about this because a 6 or a 7 on a range of 1 to 10 is actually pretty good. Like, it's more than mid. It kind of gets into like a better version of something. And I got to thinking, and when my son says this, I get like visibly shaken about these like pop culture things that he's engaging with, almost as if those things are not as like cool or good as the things that I engaged with. And what I've had to realize, and I should realize, is that the things that my son is engaging with, these pop culture trends and these memes and things of that nature, are the same as what I was doing when I was his age. We didn't have memes because we didn't have the internet the same way, but we still had the same kind of social things that were pervasive in the culture. And the things in my childhood were just as fucking stupid. All of this is nonsense. It's all things that kids use to identify with the culture and identify with themselves and share something with each other. I could name you a litany of things that I was into when I was 7, 8, 9, 10 that seemed like they were so important. And they were all, when I look back at them, equally as dumb. They were equally as ridiculous because we were kids. Our TV shows. Thundercats is a terrible show. It just wasn't good, right? G.I. Joe wasn't a good TV show. Kids like stupid shit because they're kids. And just because you have nostalgia for the things that you grew up with doesn't mean they were good. Doesn't mean we should like high road our kids and say, like, oh, things were so much better when I was young. No, they weren't. They just weren't. Objectively, they weren't. So give our kids a little bit more latitude. Understand that whatever new craze or a TikTok dance or whatever they get into is just in some ways equal to whatever stupid shit you liked, because that's just a natural progression of things. We need to be more accepting of this and realize that our nostalgia for our youth is just that. It's nostalgia. We liked stupid stuff. It was just as illogical, just as ridiculous. And when you go back and watch it again, it's all not that good.
All right. Anyone want to plug anything?
First of all, we need to do an entire episode of just last calls where we get to respond.
Okay, let's. We have a guest for our next episode, but the one after that, we'll each have a last call and then we talk about it.
Yeah, because
we start the episode with a last call, and then
we end it with an episode.
I've got a lot of problems with everything that you people have said here.
Yeah. Kruger, my son tells me your company stinks. I lost my train of thought. I do have two things I want to plug that are only because they're relevant to tonight's episode. One, or today's episode, depending on when you're listening to this morning's episode. Maybe you get up at 4 a.m. and listen to us while you're working on your Stairmaster. One, there's a 30 Rock episode where Alec Baldwin's character has like a pocket microwave that he's trying to come up with a name for. And I swear to God, the entire episode of the naming is the exact state of naming a beer in today's climate. If you have not watched the 30 Rock with the pocket microwave, please do. The other one that is not nearly as funny. That one is funny to the point of almost being offensive. It's hysterical though. The other thing is the movie Air. I fucking hated Michael Jordan as a kid. I was like the one kid who hated Michael Jordan, and the only reason I hated him is because everyone loved him. Also, because I was my two favorite players were Larry Bird.
Oh, this isn't a last call. I hated Michael Jordan too.
Yeah.
I love Michael Jordan. He was my hero.
But the movie Air, I don't know if you guys have seen it. Matt Damon, Ben Affleck's in it. He plays Phil Knight. He's not nearly as important. But Matt Damon, literally talking about the importance of having a direction with marketing. Nike was about to kill their basketball shoe division, and he kept on asking for money, and he had a vision. It's I don't know, it's like 2-3 years old. I kind of avoided it at first, but I recently came into it, and I really enjoyed Matt Damon's performance in it, as well as some of the other performances. So go check out 30 Rock. Pocket Microwave, whatever the fuck it's called, and go ahead and check out Air. Those are the two things that I want. They're the compendium to tonight's episode.
Get Appliance Naming Institute. What's the thing do? It heats shit up in your pocket. Well, that's a pocket heater. I'm going on break. You're welcome. Kevin, do you want to plug anything?
You know what? In to follow Tim, which I've done now twice in this episode, I'm going to actually plug a TV episode as well. In one of the most recent seasons of Rick and Morty, there is an episode called "That's a Morty," where it's all about spaghetti and suicide. Two very, symbiotic
Similar things.
ideas.
Yep.
Um,
Just hilarity ensues.
hilarity at the utmost. Honestly, the last 10 minutes of that episode is one of the most beautiful things I've ever watched in my life. It is powerful. It means everything when you're talking about just the human experience. And it is set to a beautiful song. And if you take the time to watch that episode from start to finish and enjoy it on that level and you're not moved, I don't think you're a human being. So I would highly recommend watching that episode. That's my plug. Go to Hulu or Max, I think are the two places to go to watch Rick and Morty and see it's a ridiculous concept that pays off so hard that it will destroy you.
I have seen. I was like, did I see that episode? And then I see the screenshots, and I'm like, yep, I did see that episode.
I do have one more thing I forgot to plug. When you don't want quite 5 servings of something, you only want 4 3/4. Look to Four Loko.
I think the
No, that's
servings are up to
marketing.
me.
That's called a bookend,
marketing.
my friend.
I don't have anything to plug. I don't know what TV is a lot right now. I'm so behind on so many things because the boys demand us to be in bed with them for long periods of time, and then they come into our room, and we've even tried to bribe them by being like, hey, if you guys can sleep in your own bed for a week, you get a ice cream party. And they'll come in the middle of the night, one of them, and be like, hey, if you come in here, you won't get an ice cream party. Like, just, I'm coming in that bed. I don't care.
Mike still hasn't seen the last episode of MASH. That's how long it's been since he's had time to watch
I haven't
shows
seen
on
I haven't seen the last 5 seasons of MASH. How many seasons of MASH were there? Yeah.
Mount
Fucking
Rushmore
so
TV.
far behind on shit. Well, anyway, if you want to support our show, go to our social media, follow us on all those things. It's on our site, unitedwedrink.com, blah, blah, blah. Subscribe to our show on all of the services, all of them, not just the one that you use. Go download the apps for all the podcast services and subscribe to us.
I
FM
love
radio, are we on that one?
I love how on the marketing episode, Mike goes, and then blah, blah, blah.
Yada, yada,
yada over the best part. I mentioned the bisque. This is only a Seinfeld episode for me.
Can I fit any more Mitch Hedberg jokes into here?
Call to action. You need a call to action here, Mike. Call to action.
Go to our website and check out the Brands We Love page. You buy something from them and we get a little kickback from it. Try Made In Cookware or Trade Coffee or I can't remember what else is on there at this moment. But go there, check it out, buy stuff. Other than that, we'll be back in a couple of weeks with another new episode. Guest? Question mark? Dun, dun, dun. That doesn't work when you don't have the extreme zoom, but imagine that it did. We'll talk to you then. Cheers.
Cheers. And I also think that the people at Pringles were the most genius marketers because, when
the day
when
the
the day the rubber was
potatoes,
supposed to arrive.
the
What-
tennis ball was supposed to show up. A bunch
No,
of
the day the
potatoes.
rubber was supposed to arrive, a
You
bunch
guys
of
are
potatoes showed
ruining
up.
it.
No, the day the rubber was supposed to arrive, a bunch of potatoes showed up, and they're like, "Fuck it, cook
Fuck
them
it,
up."
cut them up.